Welcome to Legally on the Move, careers, tech and insights from Dubai. In this exclusive mini-series of the Legally Speaking podcast, we're taking you to the heart of Dubai, a global hub for legal innovation, cutting-edge technology and transformative career opportunities. Here's what you'll gain: career inspiration, unlock the secrets to thriving in Dubai's dynamic legal market, tech trends, dive into how AI, blockchain and legal tech are reshaping the industry, diversity and leadership, hear from trailblazers driving inclusivity and innovation in the UAE, and global perspectives explore how Dubai's unique blend of tradition and ambition is creating a thriving legal ecosystem. Recorded in iconic locations, these episodes bring you the energy and insights of one of the world's most exciting legal hubs. Don't just listen, experience the future of law. Ready to move forward with us? Let's go. So, welcome to the Legally Speaking podcast. Name, title, and organisation.
Oh gosh, well I can do name and broad title. Chrissie, Wolfe, partner at Nexa, founder of LAB Consultancy and Laura Broader.
Absolutely. And also returning guest to the Legally Speaking podcast, of course, back in the early days. And we've been good friends ever since. So let's talk all things Dubai, because a lot of people who follow you on socials will know you're out here. You split your time between the UK and Dubai. How does the Dubai legal market compare and what opportunities does it offer, particularly in terms of all things legal tech and innovation?
Dubai is the hub of innovation. I think I spent the first 10 years of my career in the UK almost, and then came over to Dubai. And now I spend a bit of time going back and forth between the two, in all honesty. But what you notice about Dubai is just the huge focus on tech and innovation, not just in law, but in every sector. There is a really huge investment on the future of Dubai and the future of the world. So anything that you're doing in technology is just kind of 10x in Dubai, basically. So there's technology everywhere. There's huge tech conferences here, and there's a real focus on innovating in every single space. So there's just an abundance of learning to be done over here from what's happening in the marketplace.
Yeah, and I think it's very exciting. You're at the thick of it. You're speaking at events. You're getting out and about. But you mentioned in your intro as well, obviously a partner at Nexa.
Yeah.
So what sets your approach apart to medical negligence and cosmetic injury cases from other traditional law firms, would you say?
So I left private practice in 2021, having specialised in medical negligence and international injury cases for around 8.5 years. And one of the things that made me want to branch out on my own was kind of the nuanced approach that I wanted to take to those cases, in terms of the fact that when you work for a large organisation, there's lots of considerations around cases that those firms will take on, how they can process those cases, make profits out of those cases, etc., which is entirely right for large firms. But I wanted to do some of the cases that perhaps they wouldn't have taken on. I was noticing a lot of cases that they weren't taking on that I would have liked to have done. Yeah. So actually working on your own, you do get a lot more control over what cases you take on and how you run those cases. And also, as many people know, when you sort of climb up the ranks in a law firm, actually you tend to drift further and further away from practice, and more into the business, and having lots of responsibilities and perhaps things that aren't quite as related to taking care of clients. And I really like the fact that now, being a consultant, I can now focus solely on the clients and the cases, because all of that back office stuff is taken care of by Nexa, which is a consulting platform. It's a law firm, but it's a consulting law firm. So everybody who's there runs their own practices however they want. You can use whatever tech you want, you can hire who you want, and you can run those cases how you want from wherever in the world, from whatever time of day you want to do that. And actually also kind of being neurodiverse, definitely that helps me to be able to structure my cases the way that I want to, and take on the cases that really mean something to me, and structure a caseload in a way which I couldn't do in private practice. So it allows me to really tailor my practice to the cases that give me a lot of purpose, and some of the things that I couldn't do when I was in private practice.
Yeah, and it's thriving, right? We were speaking off mic how well it's going, and it's an exciting time for you. But one thing you also do, and you're very early to this, is you support the next generation, aspiring lawyers. You're very early on YouTube offering, and helping people. So let's talk about Law and Broader and how that has helped so many either get training contracts, work experience. What's your sort of top advice for aspiring lawyers trying to break into the profession and indeed the Dubai market?
I would say keep your horizons broad.
Yeah.
Certainly when I went into practice, I had a really fixed idea about what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a clinical negligence lawyer and I wanted to be at one of the top firms. In fact, I really niched down to the firm that I wanted to work at. I wanted to work at this firm.
Yeah.
And it did work out for me at that time. But I would say the market is now completely upside down since then, particularly since the SQE has now come in and you can qualify through qualifying work experience rather than through a training contract. And at this point, there are still some really, really competitive routes, and the training contract is still a great route where you will get really good quality training. But there are also other options for you to qualify. So, there's in-house, which is open now. There are smaller boutique firms that perhaps didn't offer training contracts before. There are ways into the profession that may not be exactly what your life goal is right now, but actually that doesn't mean that you won't ultimately get to your life goal. So I would say keep your horizons broad. Don't just pigeonhole yourself into one route and say, right, if I can't get this route, then I'm not going to look at anything else, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. And actually, there are so many interesting things about the law, potentially areas, potentially jobs you haven't even thought about yet. And it's all good experience. It's all valuable skill building, and it will all build your CV and make you more employable in the long term. So I would just look wider than you might otherwise have done, in terms of your career, because there's lots more opportunities out there than there were when I was applying.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that you've done fantastically well as well is obviously build a personal brand. And I want to talk about that because obviously that's brought a number of opportunities your way. And I think you've now got over 100K worth of followers and amassing. How has personal branding helped you, particularly through the use of social media, and how's it impacted your work? And, what's your view on it in terms of the legal industry generally?
Yeah, I mean, it still surprises me when you say that. You're right. That's how many followers I've got. But for me, it was always about kind of building an online community, but it was more about kind of sharing. It was kind of a sharing platform for me, in terms of sort of sharing my journey and talking about things that were going on in the legal profession, and kind of wanting to be the person that I never had in my life when I was going through that process, because social media didn't really exist when I was applying for training contracts. And actually, when I started my YouTube channel, I just thought, you know what, if someone had told me this really practical advice, this would have been so much easier. So it was always just about kind of sharing everything that I learn. And I now do that on my TikTok. My TikTok is really varied. And basically everything I learn, I just get it straight on TikTok, whether it's about careers, whether it's about life, whether it's about personal relationships. I just think it's a sharing platform. And I really enjoy doing that. When someone imparts some knowledge onto me, it's that, giving back and saying, okay, well, someone's told me this and I'm now going to give my community this information as well. But I think in terms of the sort of personal branding side of things, I mean, that is what really enabled me to start up my own practice and go independently, is having that personal brand and that network. I never would have been able to, I don't think, actually decide to start up my own business if I didn't have that network that was there to build clients, basically. I mean, that is one of the scary things, or the scariest thing almost, about becoming self-employed, is where is your work going to come from?
Yeah.
When you're in private practice, there are, a lot of drawbacks to that, but actually at least you have a constant stream of work being funneled to you. But actually, when you go out on your own, the biggest thing is, if I don't go out there and bring in my clients, then my business is going to fail. So actually kind of having that brand and having that network, fortunately, touch wood, to date, that hasn't been my biggest problem, is actually bringing in clients. And that really came off the back of the platform, which was never my intention. I'd love to say it was my strategy all along, but it wasn't. I just started YouTube giving advice to students. And then a few years later, that was what enabled me to start my own business, because of the clients that were coming through that. So yeah, it's been a convoluted journey, but I've changed so many things throughout that period, in terms of where I started with my content and where I am now. But it's been a key factor in how I've been able to build my practice.
Yeah, and it's that powerful, isn't it? And
Really,
I just think what you've done is phenomenal, and I think it's absolutely justified, all the opportunities and all the great things you're doing. Before I let you go, I want to talk about something I know you're very passionate about as well, is sort of well-being and inclusivity, particularly within the legal profession. So, as someone who speaks regularly on diversity, mental health, what steps can the legal sector actually take to become a more inclusive and supportive community?
When I joined as a trainee, well-being, no one knew what that word was in law. It just wasn't something that was spoken about. It was billable hours and targets and salaries, but there was nothing about well-being, and that's really transformed actually in the last few years, which is positive. I think there's still a long way to go, and I think well-being is a topic which is evolving in terms of we are now, I think, a much more emotionally aware and kind of emotionally intelligent and self-aware race compared to how we were years and years ago. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think that is not a journey that ends with anything. It's continuously evolving. And more recently, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, so I've learned a lot more about myself. And actually, it's now estimated that 1 in 7 people are neurodiverse, and that was not a topic that was being talked about even 2 years ago or 3 years ago. That's something that's really recent. And actually, I think the best thing an employer can do is be open-minded and actually not see it as a bad thing that people are coming to you with different skill sets and different nuances to their personality, because the more diverse your team, the better. The more angles that you can have, the more personality types, the more kind of nuanced approaches to work, the better. So actually, I think the kind of more diverse your workforce, then the more complete your company is, because you've got a diverse range of clients as well, whether you know it or not. And actually, your workforce needs to reflect the clients that you serve. And if you've got 10,000 clients, then actually the diversity within that client base is going to be absolutely huge. So your workforce needs to match that, because if you can match your workforce directly with those clients, and you're going to have much better relationships moving forward. So I think it's really embrace the diversity, embrace different people's idiosyncrasies, because that's really what is going to set you apart from other firms who really just go for one type of person. Because I think there's so much value in diversity, and there's so much value in having happy workers. Happy people are more productive. There's a number of studies which show that. So actually, if you can cater to people who have a diverse range of needs and you can keep them happy and productive, then your business is going to thrive in the long term.
Yeah, really well said. +1 to that. And, huge value having you back on the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've got to do this at a super cool spot in Dubai. If folks want to learn more about what you're getting up to, what's the best way for them to get in touch? Feel free to share any social media handles, websites. We'll share them in this episode for you too.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Chrissie Wolfe on LinkedIn, fairly active on there. I'm at the TikTok Lawyer on TikTok, and I'm Chrissie Wolfe on Instagram as well. Those are my main platforms at the moment. So feel free to drop me a connection request or a DM, and I'd love to continue the conversation.
There we go. Well, thank you ever so much once again for coming back on the Legally Speaking podcast. But from all of us here in Dubai, over and out.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of our Legally on the Move from Dubai series. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us out. And if you want to connect with us directly, join our vibrant Legally Speaking Club community on Discord, or visit our official website, legalspeakingpodcast.com, for more updates and ways to get involved. Stay tuned. We'll see you again soon. Over and out.